Well, guilty as charged. Maybe I'm like too much of a sci-fi OCD person. Wait a minute, that goes against the principle. I
That's
mean,
okay.
there are a lot of things that science fiction, stories and comics and books have presented that came true.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Turbo Pit Fighter How to Make a Comic Book podcast. I'm Kurt Brugel, and I'm inking.
I'm
And you are again?
hmm I'm Jake Jacobs. I'm penciling, and I'm right in the middle of a pow sock'em wacko punch. I'm trying to get the fluidity down. I'm worried that it's a little stiff, but yeah, good to see
Yeah,
you
yeah.
again. We're on a weekly here, and it's great to get this time together to make comics and talk about comics. And yeah, this should be an interesting one. I have a couple of comics here, just like lying around in a pile in case we want to do the random comics segment to talk about. But um, what sequence are you on right now in the
I
inking?
am just finishing panel one of page 13. And when I say finishing, I'm giving it my 85% treatment, if not 80% treatment. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, once all the pages are together at that 80% level, I come back and really start hammering down on them. So this is a sequence where she's being assaulted down upon by these militant guys, and she's now throwing some what was it, sky bong
Skybox.
liquor. So these two tanks come out, and
Mm-hmm.
then there's going to be this really cool, challenging for me to ink explosion. So these are the colors. Yeah,
Pow.
man, I'm really excited for this page. So
Right.
yeah, just getting it going. And you said you're on 16, the
All
bottom
right.
bottom panel. I mean, sorry, six,
Yeah,
page
my
six.
Yeah, my page six on the bottom panel, and I think this is where I left. Up top here is where I left off last week, or maybe not. I have the other pages handy if in case I left off on the page where. Yeah, I think this is where I left off last week on the page where the berserker dudes are jumping on the back of the ice cream
Yep.
truck, and here she's saying Trophy Girl's really scared, and she's doesn't have any confidence. And Turbo is saying, "Here, you're gonna take out their wheels using these little egg things. They're called
Mm-hmm.
tumble-wires. You just drop them in front of the bike's wheels when they get close. Got it." And then we come to page six, and don't have a background yet, but she's gonna ask, "What are these suckers?" And she's saying a mess of wires that uncoil on contact. This will take them down. But what if I miss? So throw two at a time, about 6 feet ahead of them. Got it? Then we see the here in the next panel, there's like a hook coming through the ceiling, crunk, and she goes, "This is insane. I'm not ready for this." And Turbo says, "You're all we got at this point. And now get to the side door before they do." And no sooner does she say that when, hello, ladies, intruder breach. This guy is crashing through the window with a metal hook and scaring the bejesus out of Trophy. We see this other guy is even creeping in here. I don't know if you can see Trophy. Okay, and Turbo's reacting, "Why, you rotten scum?" So now this is where I'm working on. These are kind of like semi-splash panels. I was wondering if I made this panel too big because it'll compete with this one, but there's definitely a lot of action on this page. And um, so yeah, Turbo's laying a haymaker on this dude and just taking him out of commission. But I was wondering if this arm is if this is like fluid enough. She's definitely given the stiff arm, but I wanted to have like the feeling of like it was a real extended punch, and she's got her whole body
Jake, can you
into it.
lift it up? Can you lift up
So,
the like slide up the page? Let
oh
me
yeah,
see. I can't. Oh, there you go. There you go. Yeah,
oh
yeah, yeah, yeah.
well, yeah, it's kind of wide. I'm not quite
The
there
only
yet.
thing I
So
would
I'm
say
I'm
is
I'm doing like
this to help unstiff is her shoulders look like
yeah,
they're like literally parallel with her arm. So it's just like a straight line to straight line. So if one, like let's say her
right,
right shoulder is a little lower, it might actually kind of
yeah,
like throw it up a bit more just to
okay,
leave just from my angle and seeing on camera here. Um, but
okay,
it's still looking like it's a
yeah.
sweet punch.
It is. It's definitely landing, and it's So I was just turning the page here to work, and you know, if anybody doesn't know that at this point, you got to turn your page, rotate your page, always get your best comfortable arm position to do your
Yeah.
best drawing. I tell my students all the time. Is Yeah, I'm drawing this guy recoiling, and he'll be out of commission after this, and dropping the hook and getting knocked off the van. So there's that. I mean, I kind of like took the time to like sketch out the van with rulers and everything, and now I realize like it's 99% covered by the action, so I wasted my time. It's
So
a process.
this
Always,
the
always still.
ice cream van is is driven
Mhm.
by a robot, but the robot doesn't have any like vocal communication skills.
Yeah, he
Okay.
does have vocal commu. He's constantly giving Turbo feedback, and I'm doing this in like a computer font,
Oh, that's right.
which is a little nod to Deathlock we
Ah,
spoke
yeah.
about, and yeah, so he'll have like a running commentary of helpful things, but all he does, the joke is that all he can do is drive and play music, but the reality is that he's a personal assistant, he's like Alexa or whatever, except it's programmed to respond a lot more
Well,
meaningfully.
there's that great scene in Total Recall, the Johnny Cab. Remember
Uh-huh.
that where it's just this like shoulders, torso, shoulders, and a head, and he's like, "Welcome to Johnny Cab," and then
Yeah,
Schwarzenegger's like,
right, I
"Drive,"
guess.
you know. It's,
Right, it's something like that, but he doesn't have much of a head. But who knows? With a robot, you can just attach
right.
things later or detach. We'll see. But yeah, ours is called Gopher, Gofr, and hopefully that isn't taken. I didn't Google it, but
Go for
um,
the computer autonomous cab driver.
yeah. Well, he's the van
The
the
van, right,
van
right, right, right.
driver, right? And I'm sure he'll come in handy at some point or the other, but. I think on this very sequence, I was going to have him get knocked over and wrecked, and then Trophy was going to have to take the wheel. But I'm not sure if I mapped that out in my roughs and my rough thumbnails. I'm just going like one little scene at a time, so I don't have to think too much. Um, right, and then if we want, yeah. See, now that I look at all my thumbnails, I did um, kind of plan out ahead all the way up to page 24 of the issue that I'm working
Which
on
was number
now.
two.
So I just have a very rough synopsis of the issue that I'm working on now, which is number 2, and I'm still doing all the breakdowns and page by page, panel by panel actions. Um, the fight scene that I'm at is right here. I don't know if this makes sense to anybody, but yeah, I think somebody's gonna clobber Gopher and just not really destroy him, but just like take him out of the picture, and and then Trophy will have to take the wheel while the while the truck is going up on three wheels up these mountain passes, straight up hills and the rough road. I mean, that's one of my pet peeves. You know how all these like road warrior movies and all of these, futuristic movies like Death Race 2000 and all of this stuff where like, it's just completely post-apocalyptic. But these guys are riding down roads as if the highways,
Yeah,
as if the,
they haven't. Right,
concrete is
right.
maintained. I was even watching that. Did you see that Tom Hanks movie on Netflix where he's makes the robot,
No,
and it's kind of, no, you haven't
nope.
seen that one?
What's it? You remember what it's called?
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh no, God, I can't remember what it's called. It was the name of the
Okay.
guy, whatever the guy's name was. But it was a great movie. He was especially for Netflix. It was pretty decent budget and special effects and story. Um, but he's in this post-apocalyptic world. There's all these like storms that come. And radioactivity is a problem, and he has this robot companion that he speaks to, and
Wilson?
it's kind of like his child. What is it called?
Wilson?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Everybody was comparing it to Survivor, where he talks to Wilson, right? And but and it was like kind of like an ode to that, but there was more to it this time. And he it was a decent movie, but yeah, he's traveling down the roads, and he's like scavenging for food and scavenging for for tools and everything everywhere he goes. But it's like the roads would be completely impassable in if there was like 5 years of no maintenance, that would
Yeah.
be it. And so I am going to try to make these roads as rough as possible to try to make it a little more realistic. And maybe they have better shocks and struts in those days for absorption of potholes. Who knows? But it's one thing where it's hard to suspend disbelief.
Yeah, but we already had that conversation. We could pick back up on it as the in the world building part of the technology is still being advanced. Hence the flashback scene where Turbo is very young and in the orphanage, and then she goes to drop off. It's a drop off or a pickup. Gosh, my brain.
Um, where
To
where
the
she goes to the
pharmacy. Yep,
pharmacy, you
yep.
mean?
Because that guy is
Yeah,
like a scientist. So I mean that stuff is still
yeah,
going on.
yeah. It's an
Right. Oh,
exchange,
that's right.
and the guy's posing as a pharmacist, but he's actually a very advanced weapons technologist, and he gives Turbo the package, which we don't know what's in there yet, but it'll have this revolutionary gun that will use two different radioactive particles to in combination to create like a gigantic pulse beam laser thing, or radioactive, I guess we'll call it like a radioactive directed energy uh,
Okay.
weapon. Yeah. So I mean, it'll have the power to take out big things, like take out a tank, take out a plane, take out a door wall, maybe like half a building or something, and so that'll be a game changer. But that's when Turbo's young, and when Turbo's young, and when Turbo's old, there really is only about a 10 to 15 year difference,
She's
right?
like in her
So,
early or like late 20s, like what I'm
well,
drawing, where I'm
well, we
drawing her right now. She's like late 20s.
yeah, we'll have to decide.
That's a
I don't
good
know.
question.
We keep it vague. Um, that's a problem in comics, because if a comic takes 10 years, and the character never ages, you have that same dilemma that Marvel everybody came up against, right? Superman's been around for 60 years.
Yeah, but he's not
How
human.
many more than
That's what I think
30,
their argument
1930?
against that he's not human, so he can have that eternal youth looking.
Okay, well, Batman was 39, so, no matter what. I mean, even like, even Star Wars, you see Mark Hamill aging, so they make him old Luke now because you have the same actor, but, the question is, do you just do a reboot with a young guy again? And, it depends, what kind of a franchise it is. Some franchises, you just get a new Lone Ranger behind the mask and, just keep on your business. And then some franchises, are trying to have like an arc of story arc, that grows with the characters. And we mentioned how many times about the Suzanne Summers
Yep.
effect, right? Where you can't re-sign somebody in their contract. They want to do a different thing. They get bored of acting, or they have a kid, or whatever, and they have enough money in the bank, so now you got to write them out. I Since we last spoke, I saw Thor,
Yeah, what'd you think?
and yeah, so this is the fourth Thor, and well, I definitely won't spoil it for anybody, because it's I think it's the number one movie out for the last 2 weeks, but it it delivers. There's just a lot going on, and there's a lot of story. There's changes to the characters, permanent changes to the characters, um, and there's a pretty good bad guy in Christian
Yeah,
Bale,
that's some wicked
who
like CG
was
there.
Batman in the previous life, but yeah, it had. I mean, my problem with it is that it reminded me of the second Wonder Woman, is because they have Wonder Woman in that one acting like a god, and they have her in all these golden things. Reminded me of like Barbarella, like all these scenes they have where she's in these golden outfits and she's spreading her wings like a golden god, and she's flying, and it's like, okay, how did she get the power to fly? Whoever said, and so this Thor is kind of like that. It kind of goes into the whatever's convenient for the story, right? Like if it's convenient for the story that Thor can snap his fingers and his costume changes, and his outfit comes on like through magic, then it just happens. That's a new power. A new power. Um, I think we saw that with Ant Man and Space Lord or Star Lord. Is that they just press a button and their helmet appears
Yep.
now, right? Because it would be they and same thing with Iron Man, right? It just like comes down automatically. So we don't know if that's like technology or magic or whatever, but there's all these kind of things where the other thing is where Trump, just I mean Trump, where Thor just like transports himself, through these like rainbow bridge things, and next thing you know, he's in another planet, and it's like, okay, like, so there's a lot of that where it's like really just ridiculous, realism in the movie, but people didn't care. Like the audience was having a good time, and the box office is good. It's very solid. And so, people are just like, okay, this is just the storytelling. It's just like everything's very magical. These are gods, and the theme of this episode is like all about all different gods and what gods can do. So I guess it's all just the fairy tale stuff. And I don't know. I guess I'm just more of a grumpy stickler for realism and continuity
But it's
and
comic
asking
books.
questions.
But it's
What?
comic books. Don't you get it? Don't you get
Yeah,
enough
it's comic
realism
book.
day to day in in your classroom?
Yeah,
And you're dealing
that's
with
that's
children
definitely
too,
the.
so they're not quite formed in reality, you know?
I Well, so guilty as charged. Maybe I'm like too much of a sci-fi OCD person. Wait a minute, that goes against the principle. I
That's
mean, there are a lot of things that science fiction, stories and comics and books have presented that came true. right? Everybody has to admit that. It's just that the technology wasn't there yet, but we know it's coming, right? Like flying cars and all this stuff. We know it's coming. They're going to figure those things out. It'll be a version of it. We have cell phones now. That was in Star Trek. That flip phone was in Star Trek in 1960s, so I guess, I don't, I just, that's why I always liked Marvel versus DC, because DC had Superman, and Superman could lift a continent and carry it somewhere, and we're supposed to believe that. Lift a building, as if like all the plumbing wouldn't fall apart. Come on. But that's the difference. I call it corny, but it's really just fantastical, fantasy stories. And I mean, the movie where he flies backwards around the planet, remember
Yeah, to
that
save
one?
Lois Lane.
to br- to bring back Lois Lane in
Yeah.
time. Like, oh, so now you can not only circumnavigate a planet, make it turn the opposite way, but that when you do that, it makes time go backwards. Like, what kind of cocaine-addled orgy were these script writers on? That's my question.
Was the 80s.
Yeah, right. I mean, I when that happened, I was in the movie theater and I literally wanted my money back. you know but so that's a kind of like a genre of comics, like Superman comics. Okay, anything can happen. We go month to month, we need ideas, and so we just have no limits on what our ideas might be, because we want to like be unprecedented every single issue.
Well, do
It's
you
like
think that's like
un, un
an issue with? Uh, I'm going to just jump over to independent comic book making, where there's probably too much time on the creators' hands because they're not doing it full time. They're not trying to get their book out monthly to stay in competition with the bigger names and stuff. So you overthink it. You get yourself in a position where the new fresh idea you have that you end up working, you work it to death. And so then when it does come out, there might be a lot of hype about, oh, it's going to do this or talk about that, and then everybody gets it and they're like, yeah, eh. Where comics
well,
are always
yeah,
trying to
I
find
mean that.
something new and fresh in storytelling.
Yeah, I mean, they always there's that. I mean, when you read the Martin Goodman book, um, the secret history of Marvel Comics. I'll just keep plugging that.
I'm going to get a
Uh,
copy. I'm going to
I,
get a copy. I
well, I could loan
Oh,
it to you, but I
have
need
you
it back
finished
because
it?
I
Have
haven't
you
read
finished
that.
reading it?
No, I still haven't read the second
Oh, okay.
half. And I love this book so much. But what it explains, if people didn't already know, is that everything was based on a money decision, to try to go after. This is where I'm at. I'm only on page 65, so maybe I should hold on to this.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
it's all
read
right.
this a little
It's
bit
all right.
this
Yeah.
summer. Yeah, I'm like I said, I was just savoring it and just not reading it on purpose. But what everything was a money decision, right? We spoke about like She-Hulk, right? She-Hulk was created because CBS was planning to do a female Hulk, and Stan Lee wanted to beat them to the punch. So he created She-Hulk. They rushed out a comic. It wasn't even well thought out. It was just like whatever, just put it out with the name on it, because then we have the character. And same thing with Spider-Woman. Same thing with Captain Marvel. It was just beating these guys to the punch, and securing the copyright so that you can make more money. When we're talking about like appealing to a demographic, you have that's why Bucky is there, because he's a kid, and Toro and all the sidekicks, were there, Robin and so forth, because they felt like the kid is somebody that the reader can identify with, because the target audience is a kid. And a lot of these decisions were really just made to pander, make money, or in some cases, try to revive characters so that they could claim, a modern era copyright, after laws change, or else there are different rulings, and they stop enforcing a law, like the Federal Trade Commission, might stop enforcing a law about copyright if a character is dormant for too long, and so another um, publisher will come along and just use the name, or just take the character itself, and just put it out and see, and then maybe if you get into legal trouble, you can settle your way out of it if it's worth it. But if the thing didn't make any money, who cares? Okay, I'll cease and desist. So, there's always like all of these legal questions and money questions and everything. So,
Well, one of the things,
whatever.
if I jump in, is, I see a lot online with other comic book blogs, and podcasts and stuff, and it's not uh, like a big discussional topic, but it seems counterintuitive to be in 2022 and trying to maintain a 1950s and 60s output on comics and trying to hold it to this, um, it's always been this way, or this is what a comic book is, or it's not a comic book when you, it just seems to be, or, I'm like I said, I'm hearing a lot of, not a lot, some grumbles out there of, can we actually move outside of, let's say, the Marvel DC method of making comics, and bring, new identifiers to storytelling. And definitely there have been books and creators that have come along that way. But, it seems to be just impossible, especially for two guys like you and I, to hold on to that as our measuring stick on how to make a comic book.
Yeah, well, well, you're gonna make me get political now, but
Oh,
the, the the economics of it are such that in the 50s, you could live in Manhattan and you had a rent of maybe like $200 or $300 per
yeah,
month, and you could make that some, in the comic trade, if you were just cranking stuff out, but the cost of housing, especially in somewhere like New York City, um, exponentially rose, where the incomes stayed the same, and or like adjusted for inflation, they haven't kept up. So you hear all these stories, like in Detroit, when they're when all their manufacturing left, they had this dynamic where you could actually get a house really, really cheap in the city of Detroit or outside of Detroit, because these neighborhoods had collapsed.
yeah,
And so that became home to this incredible musician community, where people could just waitress or wait tables during the day a little bit, pay your rent of like only $600, right? And this is like in the 2000s, and then do your music and just play all these clubs at night. So there are artist communities, and this is why there are no artist communities on Park Avenue, because the rent's too damn high, and you have to be able to put time into something, even if it doesn't, even if you're like taking financial risks and it doesn't have a steady paycheck, but you're still willing to do it. You're willing to eat ramen, and you're willing to live in a place, in a dilapidated place. So that's the reality of it. And the comic makers today, the American comic makers today, are either weekend warriors or trust fund babies, or they're actually successful, and they were able to quit their job, and they're supporting themselves this way, which means they're back in that thing where you have to hustle and you really have to cater to the marketplace rather than create your best artistic
Or take
effort.
chances.
Right. Yeah. Right. I mean, and so that's what it was all about in those days. It was like real hustle days,
Yeah.
right? And they you had and you also had something that I don't know if we have nowadays. It was like it's like the thing with music. If you're doing music all day every day, you really get your chops up, and you can listen to a song, just figure out how to play it in 3 minutes, go on stage, perform
Yeah.
it. You're really, really professional. You're really good. You really practice. And with these comic guys like Jack Kirby is the ultimate example, but it also goes for Ditko. It goes for all these guys, Art, Everett and Artie Simek and whoever, is that they were not only good, they were fast.
Yes.
Not only good, they were fast. And they also knew exactly how much to put on a page so that you don't obsess with your OCD, going over it over and over, right? You want your characters to be well formed, and you want to carry the story and everything, and then if you have time for backgrounds, great, or if you have time for big splash pages, great. But you're always up against that clock. You always have to send in your progress, and then when it comes to the last couple of pages, it's usually a deadline, and it's usually a race to
It's
the
an
finish
all-nighter.
line, and
Three pots of
yeah,
coffee.
that's why you might be reading these like unbelievably fantastic, stories and everything, and then all of a sudden the last page is like, huh, what happened? you know. Um, so that's the reality of it, and it's really interesting how life dictates what ends up on the page, right? And it isn't just a matter of I'm going to draw this in my style, and I'm going to develop these characters, and I'm going to come out with this whole book and everything. It's like, no, how much time do we have? And is there a paycheck behind it or not? Am I supporting this at least at first? Maybe I'll make my money back later. I mean, there's a good chance to make some money back later, no matter what. But these are all the questions that go into it. And in 2022, here we are in the age of advanced technology. We are seeing web comics and people creating comics with a stylus instead of paper. That's all happening, right before our eyes. And you and I are these holdovers, from the quote good old days, and the indie comics
Yeah.
boom where, you saw a lot of people hit gold. You saw the Mutant Turtles and the Crow and the Men in Black. The Hollywood was definitely raiding the indie comic scene for good stories. Um, and you do have your great success stories, and you also have these success stories about just a comic creator that's just able to support themselves and just travel around and do conventions and just draw, ink, ink, ink. Just keep doing it. What a dream, living the dream. But with that comes,
Well, it's a
deadlines
nine to
and,
five job that starts at like
downtime.
6 in the morning and goes till 11:30 at night every day when you're doing that.
Right. I mean, we have the luxury of, if we have a day, I'm a teacher, I have a day job and a paycheck and everything. And, if I don't feel like drawing, I don't have to draw, but if you're in the biz, same thing with writing, because I write sometimes too. So if you're in the biz, you got to sit down and write no matter what. You have something to do. That's it. It doesn't matter what you want to do. Maybe I want to go exercise. Maybe I want to go get a smoothie.
Yeah, and I think also
So.
the just to my curiosity is, and at this point, this is episode 19 we're recording, but episode 10 drops tomorrow. Um, but we have 5 people subscribed to our channel. 2 of them I
Hmm.
know are not you and me, and a good friend of mine. So my point is that at some point, I think exponentially, and this sort of answers or moves the concept of changing the format of comic books from even paper or digital to interactive. Like interactive though, not on a CD-ROM, but like right now, like you and I. One of our goals, and we talk about it, is getting the people who end up liking our content, the podcast being a part of that content, to chime in and ask the questions. We're purposely, because this is a 21 plus year old comic book script, story idea, penciling, everything. We're just picking right back up where we left off, but we're not going back and obsessing over all of the notes and, oh, yeah, we got to make sure it's this way. We're literally allowing ourselves to reinvent, push and pull, and make other things come out of it, which I think is like super exciting. Uh,
Well, I actually might be guilty of what you said. I have a I have a printout here, and I do go over things
yeah, I
like,
do
I want
too,
the
but
van to look like it did in the first thing, and you know, like but that happens in comics. You
no,
can't help
yeah,
it.
I mean, but we're
It,
not, we're not establishing that this is what it is, and we're staying on the rails, and this is how it's going to be no matter what. We're keeping a fluidity in the hopes that a fan base that eventually ends up joining us, because there's so much of us out there through social media and obviously a YouTube podcasting channel, our Instagram, so on and so forth. People are just going to, there'll be enough people that'll go, oh, hey, hey. And then we have a tip jar and a membership and a subscription and whatever, whatever, whatever. But the whole idea is we are living with inside it. It's just not like living off of page rates.
right. Yeah, we are trying to cultivate a fan base around this project, or collaborator
Yep.
base, right? I mean, I would love to, I'm trying to figure out all these different things. We have a 6 comic plan to make a graphic novel, and I'm trying to figure this stuff out all the time. And I would love to have like maybe a call in, or somebody say, "Hey, you remember that idea where you're going to do that, and there's going to be a scene here that. What if you did that and this and that and that?" And I'm like, yeah, I would love to bounce around ideas. This is how great things are done. They're done around a table, with collaborators, and that's the thing. That's another big difference between Marvel and DC, when the bullpen model versus your independent comic creator who's doing like the lettering and the coloring, and then you have to go out and try to do the marketing, and it's very lonely, whereas in Marvel you can just say, "Uh-oh, Roy Thomas just called a meeting." And then you could have 8 guys in a room, or 8 guys and girls, ladies in a room, and have all these great ideas. Well, what if we did that? What if we did that? Okay, somebody wrote it down, took the minutes, and then boom, you next thing you know, you're out of the meeting and you have like 10 great ideas. So there is something to be said for that, and that's why I'm not down on the Marvel model at all. I just think that it's like the NBA. It's pretty exclusive, and it's like the big time. You get to play with those famous characters, but it's also a corporate structure, at the same time, and you might not have the freedom, and you might, find yourself, wanting more creative control. It all depends. I mean, if you're a colorist, who cares? You just, give me the pages and I'll color them. That's my job. And but if you're thinking the stuff up, and you have to come up with the characters, and you have to come up with the storyline, the plot, what happens here, what happens there. Um, it's like writing a book or a movie. It's like the more thought out it is, the better it'll be, and the less hackneyed it'll be, and you want to include all your influences, so that you are targeting like a certain type of a reader, you know. But collaboration is great. The interactive bit is like, you do have these like communities like Patreon and Kickstarter, where the investors can be, it can be a part of the planning. You can have decision making authority, at a certain level of
Producer's
contribution,
credit.
well, there's producers credit, but in the NFT space, they do have these things where, if you buy one of these really rare NFTs, you have a voting member of the board, so because they're so expensive or whatever, so you have all the possibilities that technology affords now of, being able to set up platforms to communicate and collaborate, and what we're doing now is like we're streaming in real time with cameras on our artwork. um it's great, but let's keep going. Where are the opportunities for feedback? Where are the opportunities for collaborators? This doesn't have to be the only post-apocalyptic sci-fi story we do, right? If you're into that kind of stuff, reach out and let us know if you're in the biz, or if you're just a fan and you want to be in the biz, you want to contribute. um this is something where, even if we, the guy's like, how about if there was a giant, like, 40-foot duck, and he came, across the buildings, like, breaking everything. I was like, I might not use that idea, dude, but it's great to have your feedback on, what we've done so far and what we're planning, so you can definitely, it's definitely good for, market research, let's say, data. The people that are bothering to watch your videos and check out your comics, hear what they have to say. Why did you pick up this comic? What are your other, influence? What are your other, faves? That's all good, even if you're not, like, contributing to the story. Like, okay, let's say you had, um this character that you're developing. It's going to be Elevena, and she lives in a prison, but she has this little tinkering shop. um what if she was modeled after, this real life person, or this character in a movie, or, this or that, and then it gets you thinking, oh wow, why is, if that's popular, let's tap into it, right? Like, here's what I wanted to really talk about, when I mentioned the Thor
Yep,
movie,
yep, I'm here.
Kurt. When you watch a movie sometimes, and it's like, all right, now you want to go home and go online and see what people are saying about it,
No,
right? especially
not yet.
especially those movies that are, like, based on true
Right, right,
events.
right.
Yeah, you want to go home and say, okay, let me read what really happened, right? But sometimes you just want to, like, compare, people's reviews. Like, after I saw Prometheus, I found this essay online about it, which was incredible, and it made me realize so much more about the movie that I had just seen, but I wasn't really
Yep.
considering, right? So there's a lot of value added, when we review things and when we talk about it. But the idea of just, you know moving from art one piece of art to the next, and seeing how, there's like an evolution of, not stealing but homage, and inspiration, and that's why this podcast is great, because we can talk about our influences as we're doing them, and really make it clear, um how this came about, this particular project came about.
And we're coming
So,
to our 45-minute mark, which is we want to keep these bite-sized episodes, but we are definitely, as usual,
yeah,
hitting on
well,
the pills. But yeah, I'm going to let you keep going.
just to finish the thing about, Thor. When I get home, the articles are all about Natalie Portman's arms, how buff Natalie Portman's arms are. Because you do notice it in the
Okay.
movie. You're like, wow, she's got that little cutout of definition in that arm right there. And so it turns out you go home and there's conspiracy theories that it's CGI, and then you have responses to that which are claiming
Yeah.
sexism, that she couldn't that those arms couldn't be real. And then you see all of these TMZ photos of her coming out of the gym for 10 months working with a trainer from France, and all this stuff, but at the end of the day you still don't know what's CGI and what isn't, because you read that they CGI'd her every scene that she was in the frame with Thor, because in real life she's like 5'2", and they were making her like six
Right.
two, in comparison to Thor. So you don't know what, if they're doing that, well, why don't they just use the little expand tool on her arm just for one little second when nobody's looking,
Right.
so so that was really interesting, and that relates to Turbo Pit Fighter, because Turbo has strong arms. She is unapologetically muscly, maybe to the point where some readers say, that's not an attractive character, that character doesn't do it for me. Right, like I'd rather gawk at Trophy Girl, Um, but are we in a new, because She Hulk is coming out when, and we spoke about that, and Kurt, I saw you put the
Yeah.
clips in of that,
Yep.
which is great. Um, yeah, so that's a controversy that's coming up. Do we have these strong female characters? Like, some of these male characters are fake, right? Like, you don't think Michael Keaton has any muscles at all, do you? When he got into the Batman suit, it was a freaking plastic molded suit of tons and
Right.
tons of muscles, right? Right. So, it is what's good for the men also okay for the females? And if they enhance stuff now with the press of a button, is this what's going to be happening for you know Wonder Woman? If Wonder Woman maybe gets a little older, like 5-7 years from now, and they don't want to get a new Wonder Woman. They still want to stick in there with Gal Gadot. They say, all right, well, we always have CGI, right? That's what the producers say, because they want to protect their franchise and make money. So, um, all of these things are interesting questions. And the Thor movie, just brought it out, because now there's whatever,
Hey,
I
Jake.
think they call
Jake,
it
can you hear me?
Thor,
My
but
phone's dying.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah,
I am. Yeah,
my,
I'm losing you. So,
oh, you got,
yeah.
yeah,
So,
I got, I, I just got my 10% too, so
yeah.
I'm gonna plug in.
All
But
right.
yeah, just wanted to finish up that thought, and if anybody else has an opinion on that topic, do we CGI She-Hulk? Do we CG, our Lady Thor's guns fake? All those kind of
Right.
questions.
Well, thank you if you made it this far. And we're going to see you in the next episode. So, before we crap out here. All right. Have a good one.
Yep,
All right.
be good.